Hello my friends, welcome back to my channel. Hello everybody. Okay, so today I have some historical romance recommendations for you. I have 20 books that I'm going to be recommending. 10 of them are widow romances, 5 are by BIPOC authors, and 5 are queer historical romances. So these are sort of specifically for the August romance readathon, but these are just some of my favorite historical romances and I would recommend them to anybody. But that's why I'm making this video, is if you want to have some books to choose from for the readathon, like here are some that I really love and I put my stamp of approval on. So because I'm talking about 20 books and I want to keep this video kind of short, I'm not going to be going into a lot of detail for each one, just kind of giving you the title and what I thought of it briefly. So the first one, we're going to talk about widow romances first. The first one is The Raven Prince. This is by Elizabeth Hoyt. I adore Elizabeth Hoyt. She's a fantastic author. I think that her storytelling is just top notch. This is one of my favorite books by her. This has a widow heroine who is living with her mother-in-law and she's trying to find a way for them to survive because, you know, her husband left them with nothing, and so she takes up this job as a secretary for, I can't remember if he's an earl or something like that, and he's kind of living a life of depravity, and they have a really complicated relationship, and it's just beautifully done. I adore this book. Another widow romance is Forever Your Rogue. I've talked about this a lot this year, but I absolutely love and adore it, and if you have been waiting for a time to read this, now is your chance. This is a widow romance with our heroine who has 2 children that she is completely devoted to, and because of the laws at the time, there is a chance that her children will be taken away from her and be raised by the guardian, which is, I believe it's her husband's either sister or sister-in-law. And she wants to do anything possible to not allow that to happen. She wants to keep her children and raise them herself, and so she enlists the help of a sort of young friend that she always kind of got out of trouble and had feelings for, and she enlists his help to pose as her fiancé, and so it's sort of like an arranged marriage, forced proximity, single parent. It's just fantastic. I love it so much. Okay, the next one is Lady Daring Takes a Lover. This is another one that I've been talking a lot about this year. This is the first in the Palace of Rogues series by Julie Anne Long. This is just so clever, such a unique plot and premise, and just great tension and great romance. I love it so freaking much. Okay, the next one is Devil in Disguise by Lisa Kleypas. So this is actually a combination of both the Wallflowers and the Ravenels sort of meet up in this with just the family. You don't technically have to have read all those books before. I think this one could be read as a standalone. If you have read all of them, you'll see like characters pop up and you'll have a deeper understanding of the family connections, but it's not necessary. I love Lisa Kleypas. She's a fantastic romance author. She's probably my favorite historical romance author. And this book was just so swoony. We have a heroine who is a widow and she takes over her husband's, like, I can't remember, it's some type of, like, it's not whiskey, it's some type of distillery or alcoholic business, and the hero is a Scottish man. I believe he is the one who's involved in whiskey, and they have, like, this business arrangement. This one has amnesia trope in here. This has, like, a soulmate type of trope, and it's so good. I just love it so much. Okay, so now the next one is The Earl Takes All by Lorraine Heath. Lorraine Heath has several widow romances, but this one is super unique and I really love it. This one is pretty angsty as well. So our heroine is widowed, but she doesn't know that she's widowed because her husband was a twin and he was killed when he was on an African safari by a gorilla, and his brother comes and poses as the twin because the wife is pregnant and, like, he's worried she's gonna lose the baby because she kind of had, like, a problem with her pregnancy, and so he poses as her husband. It's just, I don't know, like, you have to suspend your disbelief on this one, but it's so freaking good. Okay, the next one is When He Was Wicked by Julia Quinn. This is my favorite Julia Quinn book. It's so angsty and just beautifully written. This is about our heroine who is married and she loved this man and then he passes away, and then I can't remember if it's his cousin, I think it might be. His cousin has always loved her and he wants to, like, move in, but it's complicated. It's so good. I love this one. Okay, the next one is The Raycast. So this one is actually a widower romance. So the hero is the one who has lost his wife. The heroine is a woman who has kind of got a lot of reputation. She was sort of taken advantage of by a man and then left destitute and to sort of live her life with all of her reputation ripped away. And she is a scandalous woman who is trying to make strides in women's rights in that world at that time. And she ends up falling in love with the hero. And it's just beautiful, complicated, really complex. And I just freaking adored it. Okay, so now this one is also a really good one. It's The Lady's Guide to Celestial Mechanics. This is a sapphic romance, and we have our heroine, both of our heroines. One is like an aspiring astrologist, I believe, and the widow is the heroine whose husband was sort of like involved in those papers and things like that, like doing the work. They end up coming together, and they have a really beautiful romance. I love this one so much. Okay, so now the last one on my widow list is Worth Fighting For. This book is such a hidden gem, and I feel like nobody has read it, and I need everybody to read it. I love, love, love this widow romance. Our heroine is a widow. Her husband really sort of suppressed her and didn't let her live with any sort of freedom at all, and so once he has passed away, she has this sense of freedom now. She ends up becoming this really well-regarded horse trainer, horse breeder, and the heir to the earldom comes in, and he's an American, and he is just like completely flabbergasted with her and just thinks she's amazing. And I think that little bit of his like American independence, he admires all the things about her that sort of the English gentlemen don't really hold in high regard, and it's fantastic. I loved it so much. Okay, so now the historical romances by BIPOC creators. We have A Caribbean Heiress in Paris. This is such a beautiful and unique historical romance, and I really love it. We have two like rivalry, whiskey distillery, some type of alcoholic beverage who are rivals, and they end up having a relationship. Really, really beautiful. The next one is Nobody's Princess by Erica Ridley. This is a pretty unique one. We have a African princess who wants to have some freedom in her life, and then we have the Winchester adopted boy who gets to protect her, and they have a lot of, this one has a really fun background plot. The romance at times takes this backseat to that, but it's really so fun, and I just love the Winchester family, and I enjoyed this book a lot. The next book is Topaz by Beverly Jenkins. So anything by Beverly Jenkins gets the stamp of approval by me. Indigo is by far my favorite book by her, but this one is also really great, and I feel like isn't recommended a whole lot. I love Beverly Jenkins. She's a comfort author for me. I just think everything she writes is fantastic. Okay, so now this next one is very unique as well. This is The Lotus Palace by Jeannie Lynn. I love this book. We did this for the Rake Appreciation Society, and it was just so beautiful, so complex, just such a unique feeling historical romance, and I just adored it. I was so in love with this author's writing, and I highly recommend this one. Okay, so now this next one is I would call this one a historical fiction / fantasy / romance. So I think mostly this is historical fiction character study. It is The Beautiful Ones by Silvia Moreno Garcia, but it also has a fantasy and romance element to the plot. You do get a happily ever after in here. But if you're going into this expecting a super swoony romance that you're getting from maybe your favorite historical romance author, that's not what you're going to get here. You are going to get some romance, you are going to get some fantasy, you are going to get some really great, excellent character development and just beautiful writing. I thought this book was fantastic, and I had to include it because while it's not a typical historical romance, I think it's so beautifully well done, and it deserves a spot here for sure. Okay, so now we're on to the queer historical romances. So, The Perfect Crimes of Marion Hayes. This one is so fun. This features a bisexual heroine, and she ends up, doing crime. This one was very fun, had a little bit of a lighthearted feel. I think Cat Sebastian, my favorite books by her, are a little bit more angsty, but this one was really just fun, good time, unique setting, great characters, and this was a good one. One of my favorite books of all time is A Lady for a Duke by Alexis Hall. I adore this book so freaking much. It is so beautifully romantic. And just like that, this book captures what I love most about romance in general, is that feeling of showing who you really are to someone you care about and having them just accept you. Like, that is it here. We have a trans heroine and the man that she loves, they were childhood best friends, and it's just stunning and so beautiful, and I love this book so much. Okay, so now this one is a novella. This is by Sierra Simone. It is The Last Crimes of Peregrine Hind. This is pretty steamy, but it is just excellent with the character work and just a beautiful little novella. Highly recommend this one. And then the last book on my list is also a book by Erica Ridley. This is The Perks of Loving a Wallflower. I adore this book so much. I think the characters are great. This is a sapphic romance, and it's just, again, this captures that feeling of showing who you really are to the person that you love and care about, and seeing them just completely accept and love every part of you. And it's just so fun and at times very lighthearted and just a really fantastic historical. I love it so much. So okay, there you have it. Those are my 20 historical romance recommendations for you if you are going to do the romance readathon, or if you're just looking to pick up a historical. I would highly recommend any of these books. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and if you have made it this far, please feel free to leave me a yellow heart, and I'll see you all in my next video.